The big dog, the head of the table, the tribal chief, the king of the island of relevancy, the GOAT, the OTC. But this means I made a mistake earlier, because him being the original doesn't mean he is the current tribal chief. That title belongs to Solo Sikoa, but for how long? Because WarGames is coming up, and despite there being multiple faction warfare in WWE, the most important feud will always be the one involving your top guys, aka Roman Reigns and maybe a few others. But besides one guy, Roman has no one on his side yet. So with that in mind, there are 10 potential people who could join Roman Reigns against the new Bloodline. Disclaimer, there will be people on this list that may not make the storyline sense, but it's fantasy booking and it's a list, so relax comments. And if you like the content, please like, subscribe and comment, and check me out over on TikTok where I have a bunch of videos to see. Ain't done a long video in a while, let's see if I remember how. Number 10, Jimmy Uso. Let me get the confirmed one out of the way, with maybe a few almost obvious ones to follow. But yes, Jimmy Uso is our number 10. We knew he was going to return soon, and after how he was taken out, we knew he was returning as a face. I'm pretty sure most of us knew that he would try to reconcile with his brother Jey Uso, but the pop when him and Roman hugged was amazing, and just like that, a broken family has started to be rebuilt. We don't need to spend too much time on this entry because we know he's on Roman's side, but I believe him and another entry on this list could be the one to help build bridges to get Roman back to the promised land. Speaking of Jey, we have number 9, Jey Uso. If you don't want spoilers, look away now. You looking away? Okay. Here we go. Jey Uso rejoins Roman and Jimmy. Don't ask how I know, I just do. Jimmy has told Roman that they need reinforcements to battle Bloodline 2.0 and has interacted with Jey, as has Roman. And now he has rejoined Jimmy. Jey confronted the Bloodline on SmackDown, and a few nights later on Raw they cost him his Intercontinental title. That was enough for him to come for them on the next SmackDown, costing the Bloodline the tag titles and save and reunite with Jimmy Uso. Jey has been actively keeping himself out of Bloodline business, but at the end of the day, it's family and he still loves them. He's dealt with this with Jimmy, and now Solo cost him his title like Jimmy did. He's gonna have to deal with this again with his younger bro. We will see the Usos reunite with Roman, but I feel that there's another player in that Bloodline storyline that could be the catalyst for this to happen, and that is number 8, Sami Zayn. Another entry I went back and re-recorded after Raw because the first version of this entry I wrote wouldn't make sense after the most recent episode. I had him this high on the list because I thought that he was gonna be having surgery, but he was on Raw talking to Jey and Solo. But if there is anyone who would have beef with the OG Bloodline, it's Sami Zayn. From being manipulated by Roman, to losing his title match, to his wars with the Usos leading to his WrestleMania main event teaming with KO, being betrayed by Jimmy, who, let's not forget, threw the first kick from the Bloodline. He has multiple reasons not to trust them, and he's always been the one trying to get Jey out. But what if Jey is the one that tries to get Sami back in? What if Jey tries to show Sami that there's a different side to Roman now, and that there's repentance in Jimmy and Roman, and Sami helps them because he believes that they have seen the error of their ways? And where Sami tried to get a conflicted Jey to leave the Bloodline with him, this time it's Jey who tries to get a conflicted Sami to rejoin. Or Sami may just want to help Jey. Sami is a very trusting individual and gives second and even third and fourth chances to people. Just ask Kevin Owens. Speaking of Kevin Owens, Sami rejoining the OG Bloodline members could and probably will respark their rivalry, but that's a convo for another day. But Roman said this is family business, and so did Jimmy, and Jey told him that he's not family. If Sami and Roman have a conversation that maybe results in Roman saying that he sees Sami not as an honorary Us but as family, it could be what brings Sami back into the reins, pun intended. Number 7, John Cena. Now we're hitting unlikely territory. If WarGames is 4v4, bearing in mind Bloodline 2.0 currently only has 4 members, I believe our first 3 entries joins Roman to face them, no debate. You could potentially switch our number 1 entry with Sami if he is still injured, or add him if it's 5v5 with everyone else being more like a dream pick. So if you're a wrestling fan, or at least a John Cena fan, you would know that Mr. Hustle, Loyalty and Respect is retiring. What better way to retire than to have matches you've never had before? And he may not want to do a dangerous match, especially with his body breaking down, but teaming with his former rival, who is on the opposite side of him last time he got physical, would be fitting for someone like Cena. But to bring it back to storyline, let's not forget that Solo tried to murder man's voice box. Cena shouldn't be able to talk or even swallow food after the amount of Samoan spikes that Solo gave him. And yes, you can argue that he got revenge on Solo coming out of WrestleMania 40 to help Cody, but did he? Joining Roman gives a more satisfactory measure of revenge by having a proper match with Solo's team, even if it's not a 1v1, and he can tick check off the WarGames match from his retirement bucket list. Number 6, the Street Profits. So SmackDown happened and we have new tag team champions, but that doesn't mean the Street Profits can't still feud with the Bloodline even if it's not over the titles. It was the Street Profits teaming with Kevin Owens to face the Bloodline, and it was them along with DIY as the main challengers for the tag titles when Bloodline held them. If this becomes a 5v5, it's not out of the realms of possibility for the Profits to join Roman and the Usos and even the odds and fight against the Bloodline. You could argue that having Motor City Machine Guns winning the titles from the Bloodline frees them up to feud with the Profits as there's no titles involved. Or maybe the Profits losing the number 1 contenders match resulted in the feud ending. Point is, the Profits or even DIY could join the fight against this new Samoan dynasty. Number 5, Zilla Fatu. Okay, so we are in potentially unlikely territory still, but it is a possibility on 2 fronts. Obviously, he could join Roman's fight against Bloodline 2.0, that is the whole point of the list, and it was said by Roman, Jimmy and also kind of by Jay that this situation is family business. Well, as the son of the late great Umaga, Zilla Fatu is family and another addition to the Anoa'i family. He's been wrestling on the indie scene, but there's been many rumours that he would eventually join WWE, so we'll see what the future holds. The other possibility is him joining the new Bloodline as their 5th member. This would open up the Street Profits to join, or even Sami Zayn and our number 1 on this list to make it a 5-on-5. He hasn't signed yet, so it's still unlikely he becomes a part of Roman's team, but there is another family member who is a bigger possibility, and that is number 4, Hikuleo. It's unlikely Hikuleo will join Roman's side for different reasons, but humour me for a minute. Unlike Zilla Fatu, Hikuleo has already signed for WWE, so getting him to the Fed is not an issue. He's currently on the NXT roster but is yet to have any matches, so surely he's going to become a part of the storyline, like when people were laughing at the 3rd Uso being stuck in NXT, that 3rd Uso being Solo Sikoa. But who would he join? Well, in case you are unaware, he is the brother of the Gorillas of Destiny, aka Tamatonga and Tangaloa, and although it's looking extremely likely that this will be a 4v4, I theorized in this video that it will be a 5v5. So while it's possible he could join up with Roman's team, I think the likelihood is he rejoins his brothers along with Solo and Jacob to make this the eventual 5v5 and make this new Bloodline more dangerous. Hikuleo could join the Usos, with each of them having to fight one of their brothers on opposite teams. After all, he is still family. This could even result in Hikuleo turning on Roman's team, but I think the final destination is for him to be a part of this new Bloodline. It will still be an interesting plot twist if he is the family member that Jimmy and Roman called upon. Number 3, Seth Rollins. This one makes no sense narratively, but hear me out. I have a few theories on this. First of all, I believe this could be more dependent on who is part of Roman's team. If Sami Zayn, and really it could only be Sami, has joined the team, then I think that he could try to recruit Seth to stop the destruction this new Bloodline is trying to cause. There are a couple others that might be able to tempt him, potentially Jay, as they don't seem like enemies but aren't really friends either, so it's doubtful. Next, he could join due to revenge, but this is double-edged. What do I mean by this? Well, right now he's in a feud with Bronson Reed. If this new Bloodline gets involved in his business either during the feud or after it, this could cause Seth to go against him. However, although he is a massive face at the moment, he could join with Roman just to battle Bloodline 2.0 and then turn on Roman, arguably the biggest face in the company right now. This would not only allow him to get revenge for the beating that Roman put on him, but it will turn him heel, especially if it's similar to the Shield implosion. And Roman would also have to swallow his pride to have Seth on the team to begin with, because he still hasn't forgiven Seth since, you know, that last time Seth turned on him. Either way, having Seth join the team would be intriguing, as technically he has issues with everyone on his team. But is it as intriguing as number 2, CM Punk? Since his return, he has no interaction with anyone Bloodline affiliated, new or old to my recollection. Not Roman, not Jay, and not Solo. Tell me in the comments if I'm wrong, with sources please. Even the people who have been fighting any iteration of the Bloodline, he's not really interacted with besides Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre, and our number 1 entry on this list. And like Seth and Drew, Roman has had a bit of beef with Punk when he was out of the company. Can someone say needle mover? However, there's a previous member of the Bloodline who he's also not interacted with since his return. He's not been seen for some time now, and that person could be the one to get this to happen. Obviously, we're talking about Colt Cabana. I'm sorry, that wasn't funny. Mr. Punk, if you ever see this, it was a joke. But seriously, we are obviously talking about Paul Heyman. Who else can talk him into doing this? And like Seth joining, this could even be the catalyst for a feud between him and Roman. Same as Brock Lesnar basically feuding with Roman over Paul Heyman as well as the title. Punk may not even need to be talked into it. Just the fact that Paul Heyman was attacked by the current Bloodline could be enough for him to go after them once he's back. Whether that's on Roman's team or on a separate team after WarGames remains to be seen. But I do believe what happened to Paul Heyman is enough motivation for Punk to get retribution for someone he has a strong connection to in the WWE. Number 1, Cody Rhodes. You knew it was coming. I mentioned our number 1 entry a few times in this video, but personally, I think this was an obvious one. I don't think it's a guarantee though. He's about to fight Gunther, and I think it's more likely that KO gets involved in that match more than the Bloodline, which would set him up to feud with KO again for the title. Or he may be defending his title against someone else, meaning he won't be involved in the storyline as he's already helped Roman and said it was a one-time thing. But maybe Solo and the Bloodline does stick their nose in Cody's business and he has to battle them again. Perhaps if Sami Zayn has joined and is good friends with Cody, that results in him joining not to help Roman but to help his friend Sami. And let's not forget Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes were tag team champions as recently as last year, so even he could be the one to bring him onto their side. Again, other than the Usos, he seems the most obvious on this list besides maybe Sami, as despite the fact that he hasn't forgiven Roman for his misdeeds, he already teamed with him once, and now he has a friend already teaming with Roman in Jey. Opens up an interesting dynamic with Jimmy as well, with him maybe being jealous Jey became tag champions with someone else. But I think Cody being put into what is being shown as the biggest storyline in WWE currently makes sense, especially as if they can't find a 4th or 5th person willing to look past Roman's previous transgressions and join him. Cody could be the guy since he's already done that. Side note, I would have had The Rock on this list, as surely The Rock would not allow Solo to run around calling himself the tribal chief if he's really the final boss. And initially, he's not directly shown any on-air issues with Roman, so it's not actually going against storyline to team with Roman to face this new Bloodline. However, when The Rock returned to show he's seemingly not happy with Roman right now, it's more likely that he's part of the Bloodline 2.0. This would be even more reason for Cody to join, as his beef with The Rock doesn't seem to be settled. He did pin him at WrestleMania 40 Night 1 after all. I do reckon that Cody joins Roman in his fight against the Bloodline, but will he? Only time will tell. And that's the list. More like a fantasy booking than what will actually happen, but you get what I mean. I know I've gone over time, first time I've done this in a while, but let me know what you think. Who could join the team, either team, and who I may have missed? Leave a comment below and I'll catch you in a bit.